Hello, thank you so much for joining in today to talk about our featured state, Maryland. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining in from the world. My name is Tracy Toothaker. I'm the Director of Recruiting, and I'm joined by my partner, Megan.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Good morning. My name is Megan Jenkins. I'm a recruiting coordinator here with Worldwide. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in this morning. And if you're live with us, we'd love to know where you're from. So feel free to drop it in the chat.
Yeah, please share where you're joining from. Thank you, Megan. And then, of course, throughout our presentation today, as we talk a little bit about the fun facts about Maryland, if you have any questions, feel free to add them into our chat, and we will address those towards the end once we get through our slides. Awesome. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about the state of Maryland. And Megan and I are talking about the state of Maryland today because we were actually recently in Maryland visiting some of our customers that partner with Worldwide and are great partners to us that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But before we get into that, wanted to talk through just some fun things about Maryland overall. So the largest cities within the state of Maryland are Baltimore, Columbia, and Germantown. Baltimore is probably one you may have heard of before. It is the largest city in Maryland with almost 570,000 people there, which is fun and exciting. Columbia is the next biggest city, which has about 105,000 people residing there, and then Germantown with about 90,000. So some great big cities within the state of Maryland. And another great thing about Maryland that I know I can appreciate being somewhat in the same region here in Charlotte, North Carolina, is that they do get all four seasons of weather. So they have a summer, they have a fall, winter, and spring, which is great. So you get full range of the seasons. Looks like as you can see here in the bottom left part of this slide is summer. It ranges anywhere from 75 degrees Fahrenheit to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which I know is warm and sounds warm. But the good news is there's some fun activities on the water that I'll talk about in just a moment, specific to Baltimore that helps with some of the weather. And then their fall ranges from 50 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Winter, 25 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and then a nice spring of 45 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So some things that Maryland is known for, the Baltimore Inner Harbor, which is a really fun place to join and visit. It's obviously in Baltimore. It's a historic seaport, and it has a national aquarium. There are museums and various waterfront attractions, and some really good history to learn about when you visit. And then Annapolis, which is the state capital, actually. It's home to the U.S. Naval Academy, has a lot of rich history, as I'm sure you can imagine, with it having the Naval Academy there for several years. And Annapolis is about 30 to 45 minutes outside of Baltimore, maybe not quite that far. So it's very close. And as you can see, there's some fun water activities that are all around the state. And then the Ocean City Boardwalk, it's a famous 3-mile long boardwalk with different shops and retail. And there's amusement rides and different parks, and very popular to visit during the summer months. And as you can see, there's a little snippet of the boardwalk in the bottom right corner from an image standpoint. And then Oriole Park at Camden Yards. So this is home to Baltimore's Major League Baseball league, which are the Orioles, and it's one of the best ballparks in the U.S. I've actually been, and it's very pretty. It's clean, and there's not a bad seat in the house. You can see everything from every seat, which is great. So you'll see in the top right corner, that's a little snippet of Oriole Park. And then also, as you can imagine, being near the water, biotechnology and life sciences industry is rich throughout the state of Maryland. They are a leader in biotech, medical research, pharmaceuticals, and it houses some really great medical systems. One to be noted is some of these research and sciences, they are supported by Johns Hopkins University and are backed by the NIH and FDA. So that's just a little bit about the state of Maryland holistically. Okay, so now what's it like to live in Maryland? You have all of these fun different places to visit and select from. But some good fun stats are that overall there are about 6 million people living in Maryland, which is incredible. It's a big state, very populated. The median age is 39. The good news is the commute times throughout the state, although they do vary, right, depending on how populated and dense the city is, on average, it's about 31 and a half minutes, which is great. That's feasible. The unemployment rate is less than 5% at 4.2. We talked a little bit about the weather, but there are some average high and low temperature ranges there for you. And then annual average rainfall 40.7 inches, which the good news in some of that is that in the winter months you'll see some snow. We got to witness some snow when we were visiting Maryland earlier this year. It was beautiful. The median home price is just under $400,000 at $397,000, which coming from a very populated and metropolitan city myself, that is great. It's a great price in comparison to, for reference, Charlotte, North Carolina. That's below what we would likely see here. Average monthly rent is $2,000, and then their airport code is EWI. The good news is the airport in Baltimore is an international airport and is a quick flight to really anywhere, not only in the country but in the world. So they have several options for you to choose from. Some other really fun reasons to live in Maryland are just that where they're located, close proximity to major cities. You can get to Washington, D.C. in short order, quick drive, also to some neighboring states, which makes it very accessible. There are diverse landscapes. Again, being close to the water, they have all kinds of landscapes. And some just diversity when it comes to where you can be in the state and live near certain things, whether that be a little more land and farmland, but then also on the water, so you have options. It is a very strong job market in Maryland. You have great education systems and schools, and they're rich in history and culture. Their seafood and cuisine is something to be notable. Again, on the water, they have a plethora of options as it relates to that. And then, as I mentioned, some of the parks and outdoor activities, they have some great recreational options from an outdoor standpoint. And then culturally, they're very diverse. I think especially, referencing Baltimore, they're embracing culture in different diverse backgrounds. And we've seen that firsthand when we were visiting Baltimore ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to pass it to Megan for the next couple of slides to talk through other elements of Maryland.
Thanks, Tracy. So some employers that we partner with in the state of Maryland are MedStar Health, Johns Hopkins Medicine, and the University of Maryland Medical System. It's important to note that all of these systems do have multiple locations throughout the state of Maryland and also in DC. And then both Johns Hopkins and University of Maryland are attached to great, wonderful universities that both have nursing programs. So if you're interested in furthering your education, that's something that's important to note as well. All right, so just a little bit about licensure. Here at Worldwide, we do have an internal licensure department. So we strive to help each and every nurse who is signed on with one of our employers to begin their licensure process even before they arrive here in the US. As of now, as of today, these are the licensure requirements for the state of Maryland. But as you know, things often do change. So they may change a little bit by the time you get here, but our licensure team will be sure to update you on any of the changes that happen. So as of today, a social security number is not required to obtain a license in the state of Maryland. You do have to have an active nursing license in order to transfer that or endorse it to the state of Maryland. They do require CBC fingerprinting in order to secure or endorse your license in the state of Maryland. And they do require a credentials evaluation. The state of Maryland does participate in the compact license that you can have in multiple states. And they do require a proficiency test for English. And the tests that they accept are the IELTS, TOEFL, MET, PCP, I'm sorry, PTE, and the OET for those exams.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan. I'm going to take a brief pause and just shout out some folks that are joining us from all over the world. It looks like we have Sunshine joining from Kuwait. Thank you for joining. Hazy from the UK. Williser from the UK. Ethiopia. Hello. Jamaica, South Korea, Ghana, Philippines, Pakistan, Dubai, St. Lucia. Amazing. Thank you all so much for sharing where you're joining from. Please continue to do so as we complete our discussion today. And again, if you have any questions, we'll address those at the end. So feel free to add those into the chat as well. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the state of Maryland, life in Maryland, and then also some of what's required, and then the employers that we have partnerships with. So now a little deeper dive into living in Maryland and just a look at overall cost and housing, transportation, cost of living. So from a housing standpoint, Baltimore is really unique. They have historic row houses, and so there are blocks and blocks of these row houses that again are historic, and they're very cool, very fun, unique, and really is a part of just the rich culture that is embodied in Baltimore. There are waterfront homes along the Chesapeake Bay, which is what surrounds Maryland. The Chesapeake Bay is the water that surrounds the state. And then there's also suburban single-family homes, rural farm properties. So you do have several different options when it comes to the state of Maryland, depending on what it is you might be interested in and where specifically you're looking to live. As far as costs go, I know we talked a little bit about the average rent and average median home price for the state, but in comparison to the Baltimore, Columbia, Towson metro area, and then against some larger cities like Washington, D.C. and San Francisco, you can see it is much more affordable. A monthly rent is averaging around $1,943, and that's for 2 adults and 2 children, as opposed to upwards of $2,500, $3,500 in Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. So from a transportation standpoint, largely the residents of Maryland do rely on cars for commuting. There are major highways that connect through the entire state, like I-95, Capitol Beltway, that pulls in the cities and suburbs. But then in some of the more densely populated cities, there are metro options, or public transit options, such as the MARC trains, metro, and buses. And they do extend to some of the more suburban areas, but again, they taper off the more rural that you get and further out you get from some of the more true cities within the state. But again, just to reiterate, cars and driving are typically the means of transportation for getting around. So from a cost standpoint, transportation, usually the cost, right? Again, this is a monthly breakdown, whether it be that you're driving a vehicle or commuting elsewhere. I think in terms of this breakdown, this is looking at if you have a vehicle, pretty comparable to Washington, D.C. and San Francisco, because these are keeping in mind car expenses across the board, which remain pretty consistent for the most part, state to state. So you're looking around, $1,492 with the mindset that you would be owning a vehicle. Okay, and then overall cost of living, families in Baltimore spend about $10,570 per month. As you can see this breakdown in here, including housing, food, childcare, if applicable, transportation, healthcare, and then just other living expenses along with taxes. Still very affordable in consideration to Washington, D.C. and San Francisco, especially San Francisco. Washington, D.C. is not far at all, just about an hour or so from outside of Baltimore. And so I think the fact that these amounts are obviously a little more affordable than their bigger city nearing bigger cities, something to consider when you're making a decision about where in Maryland you would like to be. Okay. So next, we'll talk a little bit about just job opportunities in general within Maryland. Keeping in mind, if you do choose to pursue an opportunity with us in Maryland, here are some things that maybe spouses or any other dependents that might be joining you to your journey in the United States would be interested in. Some things to consider are that there are various healthcare support roles, education and childcare opportunities, administrative support roles. There's a wealth of retail and hospitality. Again, going back to what we discussed as far as especially in the summer months and some of the attractions that they offer, there's absolutely opportunity there from job opportunities. Production and industrial, transportation and logistics, IT and remote support, freight dispatcher, social media and marketing roles, customer support, and call center opportunities. So these are some of the top different job opportunities that are within the state that are provided and available to to anyone that may be joining you on your journey to the United States. Okay, so now we've talked a little bit about just the overall state of Maryland. So we'll go back into the chat and see if we can answer any questions that you all may have.
I did want to know, Tracy, I just wanted to highlight a few more people that joined us. So we have shout outs from Nigeria, Cameroon, Guinea, and Zimbabwe. So thank you guys so much. And Oman. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Amazing. Yeah, love it. Looks like we've got folks from all over the world. So thank you so much. Please feel free, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them here in the chat. I know I saw one, I think a little earlier on, asking about if we offer NCLEX sponsorship. And I think we do not offer any NCLEX specific sponsorship. We have a plethora of resources we can share with you as you prepare to take your NCLEX. But the opportunities that Worldwide Health Staff has available, and especially in the state of Maryland, do require you to have your NCLEX and at least 2 years of experience of bedside nursing. So something to just keep in mind if you are interested in joining. And the opportunities that we have hired for and will continue to hire for that are upcoming or should be upcoming for the state of Maryland are EB3 green card visa opportunities. So something to keep in mind. Looks like we have a question about from Yunju Kim, interested in Maryland hospitals. Do you know when positions there will be open? Great question. We are anticipating very soon having some opportunities in the state of Maryland, specifically nearing Baltimore and Washington, D.C. So please feel free to apply directly through our website. We'll add that in the chat as well for you to directly follow and apply to. Or if you're already working with us and have a recruiting partner, please feel free to let them know that you're interested. We anticipate very soon that we will have some opportunities to share with you. So more to come. Let's see. Okay. Again, we don't have any active opportunities right this minute, but we are expecting that we will very soon. When specifically that may be remains to be seen, but we are thinking very soon. So stay tuned. Okay, a question from Fiona Burnett. How long does the overall process take after signing your contract? So once you accept an offer with Worldwide Health Staff and feel great about the employer that you have interviewed with and accept your offer and ask any questions, you will then begin through your immigration phase and working with our legal team for the various steps of that process. That can take anywhere from 18 to really 36 months, depending on, 24 months, 18 to 24 months, depending on the timeframes of retrogression with the USCIS. And so it does vary, but that's usually about the timeframe that we like to share as you are preparing for your journey. Okay, looks like we have a question from Amen about if you choose where you work inside the hospital. I think typically what we will have are opportunities within specific units inside the hospital, and although they range right from client to client and who we may be partnering with or have opportunities available for. Amen, we will work with you to understand what your experience yields and where it is that you would like to interview for within a hospital. And so we'll partner with you to make sure that we find the best fit. So yes and no, right? It depends on the availability of the hospital, but also your experience and what makes the best fit for both you and the hospital.
It looks like we have another question from Laureline. She wanted to know about MLS or MedLab Tech opportunities in the state of Maryland.
Yes, thank you, Laureline. I appreciate that. We do not currently have any MLS or medical lab tech roles available at the moment, but that's not to say that that could change. And although the opportunities we feel we may have coming soon are going to be RN EB3 opportunities, that could absolutely change. So please feel free to apply directly or reach out to your recruiting partner if you're already working with a recruiter at Worldwide. We'd love to talk to you about what those might look like in the future. And then another from Eamon. Yes, so all of the opportunities that we provide are direct hire opportunities. So once you accept an offer and are preparing to arrive in the US, you will receive an EB3 visa, which allows you to work as a permanent employee with the hospital in which you accept an offer. So it is a direct hire opportunity. And then Jamie has a question about offering premium processing. Jamie, that depends on a few different things to qualify for premium processing. I think there are several different factors. One being having a previous priority date, and so we can talk a little bit more about that with you if you're interested. But there are avenues in which we can discuss premium processing. The opportunities that we are anticipating coming for Maryland, they will be RN EB3 opportunities, and so depending on what your individual situation may yield, that could be an option. So we would love to talk to you more about that. Williser has a question about a transition week post-arrival, and I think one thing to note is once you do arrive in the United States, there is a little bit, I think you can call maybe transition period while you are just finalizing some of the onboarding items from your employer that require to be done a little closer and once you're actually in the United States. And that can vary also anywhere from probably 2 to 4 weeks before you begin actually working within the hospital. So there is a little bit of a buffer once you arrive in the United States. Looks like we have representation from the UK. Thank you. The cost of living in Maryland. I know we discussed that a couple of slides back. So Gertrude, if you joined a little later, I highly encourage you to watch the recording from a little earlier on where we were able to talk through that breakdown. But it is very affordable. So if you're interested, let us know. And let's see, we are able to recapture priority dates. Again, it's situation by situation, depending on the case, but we can work with you and understand what that looks like and what makes sense from an opportunity. Watching from Ghana. Oh, great! A case manager shout out for Perez. Thank you. Perfect. Let's see. And then a question about retrogression. I think, the retrogression obviously remains to be an ongoing, viewed topic, something we keep our eyes very closely on. We are approaching end of fiscal year, so we will see what the Visa Bulletin shares with us as they provide more details towards the end of the month. So more to come. I think, if we had a crystal ball, we would obviously be able to share what could or could not happen. But I think we remained cautiously optimistic about some of the movement as far as retrogression goes. I think we have recently hosted some communication about the visa bulletin, so I would highly encourage you to review some of our previous webinars on our YouTube page or our Facebook page, so that you can see what those topics have discussed and see how it applies to you. Okay. So we currently we're not currently recruiting for any hospitals in Maryland, but we absolutely do anticipate having some needs very, very soon. And as shared previously, we have worked with the University of Maryland Medical System, Johns Hopkins, to name a couple. So if any of those sound interesting, we're hoping to have opportunities to share with you very soon. Okay. All right. I think that was about it. So if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to apply directly to us, and reach out to your recruiting partner if you happen to be working with us already. We are so excited about the upcoming Maryland opportunities. And then also, we would love for you to connect with us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. And then, of course, feel free to apply directly through our direct website if you are interested in any opportunities here in the United States. And also, if you are either already working with us or plan to work with us and know another nurse that would be very interested, we have a referral program, and we'll drop that link here in the chat as well. You can earn up to $250 per referral. So if you know anyone, we would love to. We'd be honored to work with them as well. Okay, Megan, anything else that you would like to add? Anything else to mention?
I don't think so. We appreciate you guys so much for joining today. Maryland is a great state. As Tracy said, we anticipate some future opportunities very soon. So continue to work with your recruiters, and we hope to speak with each and every one of you very soon.